Have you figured out your niche? Are you helping adding value to other people's lives? Then you're in the right place. Welcome to Munira's Musings with your host, Munira Jahabi.
Greetings from Chicagoland. Welcome to Munira's Musings. Today we are showcasing Tony Ricke, all the way from Orlando. And he's here to talk to us about his niche. So welcome to our show, Timothy.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
You're welcome. So we do these shows, for those of you who are not familiar, we meet here every Monday and we showcase a person who is going to talk to us about their path in their life and what they did before, and then talk to us what they are doing now, because niches change, our career paths change, and how we can evolve from what we know to what we are doing today. Munira's Musings is, available on YouTube. It's available on Facebook as well. If you want to go see past interviews, we've had quite a bit of people, celebrities, and coaches, people who can influence your life. So go ahead. And if you're here, go ahead, like, share, and subscribe to our channel. If you want to be a guest, please message me so you can be a guest on my channel. Thank you so much. So Timothy, talk to us about, tell us a little bit about yourself.
All right. I'm originally from where you are in Chicago. I was born in a place called Wrigleyville, which is the community around Wrigley Field. And I had my first business there when I was 4 years old.
What's your business at 4 years old?
The business at 4 years old was people would park their cars in front of our apartment on Clifton Avenue, and I would watch their cars while I went to see the Cubs play. And then they'd put a coin in my hand here and there. And I remember the first time it happened, it was by accident. Somebody walked up and said, "Oh, you're watching my car. Thank you." And they put a coin in my hand. So I ran upstairs and told my mom and the whole story. And she said, "Well, it looks like we have an entrepreneur in the family." And that was the first time I heard that word. And it took me about 20 years to figure out what that word meant, But being one of 10 kids, 8 of us kids are entrepreneur out of the 10 of us. And we all know our own businesses. Dad was an entrepreneur. So it's almost like DNA with us as we move through the years. And I was with Sears in Chicago quite a while. And I've had some mentors in the years I lived there. One of them was a man named Dean Swift, who was the store manager at Sears Oak Brook, which many of you, if you're in that area, know where that is. And he became the president of Sears. And ironically, when I was in that store, I used to win the contest. So I'd get to go to the Bulls or the Blackhawk games with him and learn from him as he talked to me. And I was amazed how much I did learn. And I was really surprised when I came back from Vietnam to find out he was now the president of Sears. So that was unusual. But, knowing him and Michael Gerber of the E-Myth Revisited, by the way, if you're an entrepreneur, please read that book. That'll save you years of heartache. Michael is a good friend, and we started talking back when COVID first came in. We began to work on some things, because what I do, my niche is that I'm a business coach that helps small businesses get through all of the 7 principles of business. And the first one is, where's the money? Most of them do not know, surprisingly, where their money is in their business. They don't know where they're losing money. And I usually will get on that first call with them and find that out right away. And then we can discuss if they want to go further. And the call is free. I do a Zoom call, so we record it. So if you need to take notes, you can always go back to that link and take some notes. If you're one-on-one with me, you're going to take notes while you're sitting with me. And then I'm going to have you type them up and send them to me, because that gives me a reference to the next time we meet. But I've had a lot of businesses through the years, but I've never been afraid to try something new. And that's the one thing people fear so much. They can't make that decision. Well, the result is, if you're not going to go forward, that is a decision. So you might as well go forward, right? Because I've had a lot of failures, which I don't call failures. I call them learning lessons, and they are, if you take them in the right context. So I'm a trained classical voice. So I was an Elvis Impersonator for 23 years. That was a lot of fun, but only for charities is what I did. So I raised a lot of money there. I've recorded 3 albums. I've got 26 books. And I was the guy that started one of the first team maid services here in Orlando in 1979. And it was a little
Maid
difficult because,
services? Did you say maid services?
Yeah, we're like Merry Maids, Maid Brigade, the team
Uh-huh.
system. I was the first one to do that here in Florida. And the problem was there was no one I could go to ask about it because nobody knew it. So I had to learn from that. And then I wrote the first software for it so that they could run the business as usual. And I grew to 4 offices, and we did millions of dollars worth of business in that before I was bought out by, shall we say, one of the big franchises in the industry. So now I coach a lot of people in that business. If they've got enough courage to sit down and talk or Zoom, but a lot of them, you'll reach out to them and they don't want to do anything because they think they know it all. Well, they don't. That's why they contacted me in the first place. So let's sit down and have a nice talk. I'd be glad to talk to you. But see, the principles of business are this. Here's the problem. Most small businesses fully understand the technical part of what they're doing. The baker can bake a cake. The mechanic can work on a car, but they don't know about the business part of it. How do they market? There's 3 steps. There's lead generation, there's marketing, lead closure. There's 3 steps in there that most of them have no idea what it is. I teach that. And then there's how do you handle employees? That's a whole new ball game there. Luckily, those years with Sears and management, I had a lot of employees, and so that was the background for me. And then there's quality control, 0 defects. My coach there was the Quality College, which was here in Winter Park years ago, on how to achieve as close as you can to 0 defects. My teacher was Philip Crosby, who actually developed the rockets at the Cape continuing to go up rather than falling over in the early 60s. And he's also the man that designed the entire system of quality for the Pershing defensive missile. So that in Israel, they use a lot of them because that's what blocked the ones from coming from Iran. So Philip developed he's been gone some years now. And I'm one of the few people who knows the steps to developing 0 defects for any business. You'd say, no, my business is different. Not what I teach you will show you that there's a way to do that with ease, And well, I shouldn't say with ease. It takes some time to learn it, but when you've got it down, it also means looking for where money is being misspent and how to readjust that so you can continue to grow your businesses. I couldn't have had 4 offices while building one and duplicating what I did in the first one and then refining until I had 4 of them in 3 different cities, 2 in Orlando, 1 in Tampa, and 1 in Port Charlotte, Florida. And it worked out really quite well for me through those years.
So let me ask you this. Let's go back. Thank you so much for your wonderful story. So let me ask you this.
Yeah.
First of all, you said 10 children. What was your rank?
Number 2 son here.
Okay, perfect. So you were second, and that's okay.
Yeah.
And you said 8 of your siblings are entrepreneurs, including yourself.
Right. Yeah. My older brother, who passed away a year ago Friday from COVID, he ran my father's business. He bought it from my dad when he retired, and he turned it completely around. My father was not a friendly person. My brother was funny as all get out. So he built a business up to do millions of dollars through the years. And the one right after me, he made parts for my first brothers, and he built his business to do millions of dollars worth of business. And both of those were in manufacturing. I'm the one that was outside of that. I like public speaking. I work for Tony Robbins as a speaker. I like speaking and dealing with people one-on-one and things like that, which was most of the family don't. They like the manufacturing side of that, And then let's see, that Dawn was my sister Dawn. She wanted to do real estate and turnarounds, and her husband was a very leery guy about doing anything entrepreneur. So when he passed, she had a small check that she began to buy houses, and she did very well at it. And she passed a few years ago. Then I just talked to my sister Patty, who's she's in Sarasota, and she's a bookkeeper, and she owned a service business that did millions of dollars in Itasca. You know where that is, right? So you go on down the line like that. And the youngest one the 10th one, which is, by the way, the 20th year of births in our family, right? Because there's one every 2 years, right? Is my brother Devin, and he does all kinds of things around and fix it up for in people's homes. He does a lot of that in Venice because he shows up is what is different for him. Most of them don't show up down there.
Most of them work with their hands, and you worked with your brains.
Yeah, they're all entrepreneurs. So.
Right. So let me ask you this. You talked about Michael Gerber, Tony Robbins, and, people like Mr. Swift, all of them being your mentors. Everybody here listening wants to learn. How do you get in touch with people like Tony Robbins and Michael Gerber? How do you do that?
Well, Tony Robbins, actually, I have my resume on Monster back. It was 20 years ago this year. And his sales manager read my resume, and he had me come out to the airport here in Orlando for an interview with 50 other people, and everybody was half my age. So I thought, well, I'm in trouble. But no, actually, he hired me to be able to go out and speak for him about him coming to Orlando with this called a UPW, or Unleash the Power Within, where you walk on the burning coals kind of stuff. Okay, I did that twice, by the way. And what happened is that when I went to the training, we found out that there were 14 of us. The other 13 really weren't very good at speaking, so they immediately converted me into training speakers. So I trained them on how to do the presentation, and that was all scripted anyway. They just didn't know how to apply. And this happens to a lot of people in corporate world. When they do PowerPoint or something like that, they don't have eye contact. They don't do vocal variety. All of those things are very important with doing the presentation because you keep their attention. So that's how it was with Tony. So through that, we put 5,000 people into the convention center here. In the same time, my first presentation was on 9/11. So it was very tough because everything stopped, right? And then that was that. Now, Mr. Swift, of course, I was with Sears, and I'd win the sales contest, so I get to go to, so I got to know him that way, And then let's see Michael Gerber. Actually, that was kind of almost accidental. Michael had invited me out to a workshop he was presenting in California when he had the eMyth Academy itself. And I went out to evaluate his presentation for 4 days with some other people around the world that were had built businesses from scratch. And then it kind of disappeared after that. And then just before COVID, or at COVID, a friend of mine here, Glenn W. Turner, many people know who he is. He was a network marketer that built millions of businesses, or actually did millions of dollars in businesses. And he passed away. He'd been a very good friend for years. And I posted on Michael's Facebook Messenger that a friend of ours had passed away, Glenn Turner. And he said, I don't know who he is. He messaged me right back. And who are you? And then we went into that. And when I told him the Tidy Maid story, which was my maid service, he said, you're rare because you did all of the things you're supposed to do to make a business work. You're a natural at this. And then when I told him it was a cleaning business, he said, well, you got to be the Steve Jobs of clean. So I thought that was unique. Now, Michael built a site called Radical You, which is a complete course that goes for 4 years on every aspect of being an entrepreneur. And it's really quite good. So if those interested, they should go to radicalu.com and look into it. It's an excellent place. So those are, and I even met many years ago, I'm trying to think of his name now, Charles Lindbergh. Yeah, the American World War I ace. He lived on Sanibel Island in Fort Myers, and he walked through the store one day and somebody introduced me, and I was flabbergasted. I made him the hero of heroes back in his day. So the thing is you've got to don't be afraid to reach out to people. Tim, what's his name? Tim, can't think of his name. There's a guy that has a weekly show. He wrote the book, The 4-Hour Work Week. Has everybody ever read that? He actually, through his last couple of books, went to all of the people who were very successful in different areas, asked them if they talked to them, and they did. So that's what people need to do. Go out and see if you can get in contact with these people. Most of them will talk to you. Don't overwhelm them with what you're selling. Just learn from them, which is what I did. But I read a lot of books too, 3 or 4 every month, audio, or most of them I read. But you've got to continually educating yourself on a constant basis. One of the best books I've read in years has been Elon Musk's story. Now, here's a guy with, by the way, he has 5 boys, 5 boys. And of course, he's got the car and the power walls and a tunnel from LA to Vegas and all of those things that he does. So he's a brilliant man. He is the Steve Jobs of this century. Well, Thomas Edison was the century before us, so it's very unique.
You have such a wonderful perspective in everything that you do. So, and you've written 26 books. How did you write it in conjunction with other people? Was it a collaborative effort?
No. Actually, it happened this way. I've got a lot of stories because I'm a public speaker, and I've been a Toastmaster for 27 years. Everybody should join Toastmasters, because the first thing that happens with people I bring in, I brought like 120 people in the last few years, their confidence goes up in themselves immediately, because they're little meetings of 15 to 20 people. They're not massive crowds. You get up and you do a 6-minute speech when you're ready. Nobody rushes you. And then the room evaluates you and gives you things, what we call a sandwich evaluation. I like what you said here, here, and here. I have some suggestions here and here, and I like this, this, and this. That's it. That's how the evaluations go. You pick they give you, Toastmasters has an online course where they have a structure for a speech, but you put in the speech what you want. So you're not forced into any particular area. One of the first Toastmasters that ever existed was the guy that wrote Think and Grow Rich. And we all know what that is. And he was one of the very first Toastmasters back in the 20s. But Toastmasters is what happened is I'm looking at 2 speeches. I had a speech at a Rotary Club one day. And I said, well, let me look up my business speeches. So I looked it up and I holding 2 of them in my hand. I said, this speech kind of relates to this one, almost like a book. Wait a minute. And that's how the book started. And books are stories like speeches and with points. So one of my books is called The Kidpreneur. It's my first of a series. And it talks about those years in Chicago and businesses with my brothers and sisters and lessons we learned being a family of 10, which is all systems because it has to be. And so I began to speak on those areas. And so speaking on small business is always good, because somebody always comes up to me later and says, where were you when my business failed 2 years ago? Because I can really help them if they'll reach out and ask, but they got to ask. That's it.
So let me ask you this, for the benefits of our entrepreneurs who are here, what are the 3 things that every entrepreneur out there has to learn, has to conduct in their business to be successful?
Well, first of all, I have to learn how to use. Well, one thing I suggest, 4 things when I put these on Facebook. Get yourself a bookkeeper and ask them to teach you how to categorize your expenses. Because if you don't categorize them, a lot of people throw them all into one bundle. Then you can't separate them. You got to get their bank statements, and it costs you a fortune to pull that stuff out to find out what they're doing with their money. So get a bookkeeper. Okay. Most everybody use QuickBooks. Go to YouTube or go to their site. All the information is there. Second is get yourself an attorney who you'll use as you need, so you're legal. A lot of them put things like, how do I get my VIN number or not VIN number, that's for a car. My number from the IRS. What is it?
The EIN number?
Thank you. EIN number. And they ask that, and your bookkeeper will give you that information, or your attorney, one of the 2. So get those 2. The third one is, of course, get someone like myself, somebody who has experience in businesses, not just a certificate, in coaching. So you've got a coach, and they're working in conjunction with the other 2. And the last one is a financial planner. So when you do start to make some money, you're putting it away in the right places. So those 4 are very core, and I tell everybody I talk to get those lined up.
Okay. All right. Perfect. Any last words of advice for my audience?
Well, you can't go to timricke.com. I'm having trouble with my server company that's putting this up. They can't seem to find my website, but they can contact me at Tim Ricke, RICKE, at iCloud.com, and be glad to talk to them about any questions they have. That's why I'm here.
All Awesome. That was my question, as where do we find you? But if you put the same email address during on the chat after our call, you can, people are going to be able to find you, because your insight on my posts have been awesome. And that's why I had to grab you and say, come to my show, because people need you.
Yeah. And I'm on LinkedIn as well. So, because it's business and that's where you should be. So, but is there anything else I can help you with?
No, that's it. So much. Thank you so much. I'm humbled and honored to have you on my show. And we look forward to listening to you some more, where we're going to get you back on the show and have a show on some things that you're going to teach us.
Whatever I can do to help, I would love to do it. Yeah. Thank
you so much. Bye, everybody.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Munira's Musings with your host, Munira Jahabi. If you enjoyed our show, please share and subscribe to this channel. And for more content, please join our Facebook group.